Hanson with His Seattle, here to talk to you about training video number 2, how to plan a logic unit. First of all, up on the big tent should be some documents that you will need for this presentation. If they're not up tonight, they will be shortly. So I'm just going to briefly tell you what they are so you know what to look for. First one is called How to Plan a Logic Unit. Second one is called Logic Unit Daily Planning Sheets. This is like a lesson plan, so you're going to copy 10 of those so that you can plan what you're going to do. And then there's 2 documents. One's called Logic History Unit, one's called Logic Science Unit. And what these valuable documents tell you is each part of the packet and how to do it at home. So they're really not written for the teacher so much as they're written for the parent to implement the logic unit at home with their student, so the student knows what to do. But they'll be helpful for you to read over. Also, there's 2 blank planning sheets for the parent packet, having each of the elements. So what I'm going to do is going to go through with you how to plan a logic unit, this document, but what I'm not going to do is I'm not just going to read it to you, because you know what? You can read it for yourself. I'm just going to point out a few things and then go into how to teach a logic unit, because teaching a logic unit is a lot different than a grammar unit. A grammar unit is pretty straightforward, right? You do that interactive teaching, you do a couple of reinforcement activities, you have those elements that are required, the sound off, the timeline, a review game, and you're just trying to give them those pegs and get them really excited about either science or history. But in a logic unit, it's totally different. You're doing a different kind of teaching. And I would say the difference between teaching a logic unit and teaching a grammar unit is in logic, teachers, you need to spend a lot more time doing research and reading for your topics. Whereas the grammar teacher mom, spends way more time planning activities, cutting out things, gathering things, making things. So there's about the same amount of time, but it's spent really different in planning and preparing. You as a logic teacher need to be copious. You need to know more than a junior high student on the topics, so much so that you could answer questions intelligently and ask really good questions. So we'll talk a little bit more about teaching that logic unit in a little bit. But first we're going to go through your planning. First, pray. The Lord will provide. And if you are at this point panicking and scared, don't be. We are going to have such a great time next year. It's going to be a lot of fun, and this is all going to come together and make sense. So pray, ask the Lord to give you some ideas and help you put your unit together. After you've done that, start doing your research. And I really recommend that right now, even though August seems like it's kind of a couple months away, it's really not. So get going on that reading right now. Again, I really recommend that you read the basic pages, and it's in How to Plan a Logic Unit, for a background on logic students. So read what we're trying to accomplish in history, and then logic history and logic science. It gives you an overview and kind of make sure that you understand what the goals are, because that's really important to know your target before you start planning. So know your target, know what you're going for. Then I really recommend you do read Story of the World and Susan Weisbauer's high school text. That will be really helpful. Gather some really good books, start taking notes, and How to Plan a Logic Unit gives you some very great ideas about doing that. So read through that, start doing that now. After you've done that, So let's say you've got all your research done, or you've got a good part of it under your belt. Now you're really ready to sit down with that parent packet and start planning, and also filling out your planning sheets. But first, I would get your parent packet kind of together and think about, what do you want them to come to class prepared to do. Of course, before you do that, I think it's really helpful to have in your mind what your topic is you're gonna really elaborate on each week. So kind of know that before you start filling out your parent packet. Okay, so I'm going to talk through the parent packets real quick and just tell you what each element is so that you understand what you're to do. So let's look at history. The first section says literature, and it says on the science too. They both say literature at the top. I want you to really understand that there are 2 books of literature that are going to be assigned to each unit. And one is going to be history and one is going to be science. So you as a history teacher, you have one book, and you as science, you have one book, and you need to coordinate together as teachers whose book's going to go first, who's going to be in week 5, what book's going second, who's going to be in week 10. And then you're going to assign on the parent packet what chapters they're to read each week. It also says for you to put down questions for the students to answer. Don't do that, because we're going to do story charting. I would really recommend that you encourage the students to keep